Your bank account and a millionaire's bank account are made of the same substance, the same energy, the same fundamental reality, expressing itself at different points along a single continuum. You've been taught that wealth and poverty are opposites, two completely separate worlds divided by some uncrossable gulf. By the end of this, you'll understand why that belief is the only thing keeping you pinned where you are. The Kybalion states it plainly: everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Heat and cold seem like two different things. Touch a block of ice, then touch a flame. Your body screams that these are fundamentally different experiences, but a thermometer tells a different story. There's only temperature, one scale, one continuum. The ice sits at 1 degree, the flame at another. No point on that thermometer where cold ends and heat begins. The boundary you feel is a product of your nerve endings, your perception. The reality underneath is seamless. Wealth and poverty work exactly the same way. This idea disturbs people because it dissolves excuses. If poverty and wealth were genuinely different substances, different realities, you'd need some kind of alchemical miracle to transform one into the other. You'd need to destroy what you are and become something else entirely. But Polarity says you're already on the scale, already made of the same stuff as every fortune you've ever envied. The distance between you and what you desire is measured in degrees, and degrees shift through one mechanism: the adjustment of your mental position on the pole. So what does mental position actually mean? Consider how you feel when you check your account balance. That feeling, the tightness, the resignation, the quiet arithmetic of what you can and cannot afford this month, that's your current degree. Your consciousness has settled at a specific temperature on the wealth-poverty thermometer. And just as a thermostat holds a room at a set temperature by constantly correcting any deviation, your habitual thoughts hold your financial reality at its current degree by correcting any movement away from it. You felt this correction before. A windfall arrives, an unexpected check. For a few hours, maybe a day, you feel lighter, warmer on the scale. Then the familiar thoughts return. This won't last. Something will go wrong. I should save this because the other shoe always drops. The thermostat kicks in. Within weeks, you're back at your set point. The money found a way to leave, or a new expense materialized to absorb it. People call this bad luck. The Hermetic tradition calls it the law of polarity, operating exactly as designed. The question that changes everything: how do you move the thermostat itself? Hermes Trismegistus taught that mind is the master of polarity. The principle states that you can transmute along any pole through the disciplined application of mental focus. The word transmute matters here. You're not creating wealth from nothing. You're sliding your position along a scale that already contains every degree of abundance. The wealth already exists on your pole. You're raising your temperature to meet it. This requires something specific, and it's harder than positive thinking. You have to change what feels normal to you. Your current degree of wealth feels like home. That's why you keep returning to it. Someone earning $30,000 a year who suddenly receives $300,000 often returns to their baseline within 5 years. The money changed. Their degree on the pole stayed fixed. Their normal never moved. To shift your degree permanently, you must make the higher position feel like the natural one. This is mental diet at its most demanding. Every time you catch yourself thinking from the old degree, calculating whether you can afford something, bracing for financial pain, identifying as someone who struggles, you're voting to remain at that temperature. Every thought is a vote for a position on the pole. The practice looks like this. When the old degree thought arrives, you catch it. You feel it trying to settle back into its familiar groove, and instead of following it, you ask, what would I think about this if I were already at the degree I'm moving toward? A person at a higher degree of wealth sees the same grocery bill and feels nothing. The number registers without emotional weight. They see an investment opportunity and think how much rather than if only. Their inner world operates from a different thermostat setting, and the outer world reflects that setting back to them. Here's where most people fail. They try to slide up the pole while constantly checking whether the slide is working. They affirm abundance in the morning, then spend the afternoon looking for evidence in their bank account. That checking is itself a thought from the lower degree. Someone already established at a higher temperature doesn't look for proof of warmth. They simply experience it as their baseline reality. The Kybalion gives another key. The art of polarization becomes a phase of mental alchemy known and practiced by the ancient and modern Hermetic masters. An understanding of the principle will enable one to change his own polarity. Notice that word, own. You're changing your own inner polarity. The outer world reorganizes around the shift, but the shift is interior first. Always. Think about someone you know who grew up poor and built wealth. If you trace their story carefully, you'll find a moment where their internal relationship to money changed before any external evidence justified that change. They started thinking, planning, and making decisions from a degree they hadn't yet manifested. The gap between inner state and outer reality created a kind of tension, and that tension resolved itself in the direction of the inner state. It always does. The pole adjusts to match the sustained mental position. The discipline is in the word sustained. A single afternoon of feeling wealthy changes nothing on the pole. A week might create a flicker, but months of holding your mental position at a higher degree, refusing to be pulled back to the old thermostat setting by bills, by setbacks, by the evidence of your current circumstances, that's transmutation. That's the actual work the Hermetic masters were describing. And here's the counter-argument that deserves respect. People will say that systemic barriers, economic structures, and material conditions create poverty in ways that no mental shift can override. They're pointing at something real. A person born into generational poverty faces friction that someone born into wealth never encounters. The pole exists within a material world, and that world has structure. But the Hermetic principle doesn't deny material reality. It says that your position on the pole is determined first by consciousness, then expressed through material conditions. The friction is real. The barriers are real, and people transmute through them, consistently, across every era, in every economic system. The ones who do always describe the same inner shift. Something changed in how they saw themselves on the scale before anything changed in their circumstances. Your work right now is specific. Identify your current degree. Feel it honestly. Where does your internal thermostat sit when no one is watching and you're alone with your financial reality? That honest assessment is your starting point. Then choose your target degree. Make it specific enough to feel real. A monthly income, a lifestyle detail, a way of moving through the world that belongs to that higher position on the pole. Now live in the gap. Hold the target degree in your mind as your true position. When the old degree pulls at you, and it will, daily through every interaction with your current circumstances, recognize the pull for what it is. The thermostat trying to correct. The pole trying to hold you at your familiar temperature. Each time you refuse to comply, each time you return your mental focus to the target degree, you're physically moving the set point, degree by degree, not through denial of what is, but through a deeper recognition of what the pole actually contains. The Hermetic tradition has survived for thousands of years because this principle works at every scale. Love and hate, same pole. Fear and courage, same pole. Poverty and wealth, same pole. You transmute along any of them through the same mechanism. Sustained mental focus at the degree you intend to occupy, held with enough consistency that the old position releases its grip. The pole stretches in both directions from where you stand right now. Every degree of abundance you've ever witnessed in another person exists on your scale. Their wealth and your lack sit on the same line, separated only by degrees of mental temperature. The gap feels enormous from where you stand. From the perspective of the pole itself, it's a single continuum with no barriers, no walls, no points of no return. Your thermostat has a dial. Your hand is already on it.